Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Jen Sugden. I am the Associate Registrar for Admissions and Recruitment. I'm just going to share the PowerPoint here with you and we will get started. So with me today, I have Elise Brown-Dussault, who is one of our current science students. I also have Scott Gilbert and Stephen Biggin-Pound, who are here today to talk about field work and the experiences that some of our students get to go through as a science student here. So I'm really excited that you joined us today. I'm going to start off doing a quick overview of the science programs that we have here at the university. Feel free to pop questions into the chat. Or at the end, we will have an opportunity if you want to ask questions about anything that we covered today. We're happy to help out and answer those questions. So, first program I'm going to talk with you a little bit about today is Earth Sciences. I'm going to keep these short and sweet and direct you to go to the YukonU.ca/science page for more information on these programs. But it is a fantastic diploma program. It's quite diverse in that you get to be in classrooms, in labs, out in the field, things like that, which is what we're here obviously to talk about today. So great opportunities, small class sizes. One of the really nice things with this program is that it is fully transferable to Vancouver Island University's Bachelor of Science in Geoscience program. So you can do your first 2 years up here and then go down to the island and do a very different, or work in a very different landscape, covering that different curriculum and things like that. So it's a great program, one that's highly employable and highly recommend you check.
You're back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Let me just get us reset here and I will continue on. When did I pop out? Was I talking about Earth Sciences or Northern Sciences?
You just started Northern Science.
Fantastic, okay. My computer got grumpy apparently, but we're still recording, so I will continue on. Let me just share my screen again. Sorry about that. Okay, can everyone see the Northern Sciences screen? Are we good there? Perfect, okay, we'll try this again. So Northern Science and the Northern Science Environmental and Conservation Sciences stream are very similar. The slight difference is that the Northern Science Environmental Conservation stream, or ENCS stream, is that it is targeted specifically to move into the 4-year bachelor degree program. I will cover that a little bit more as we continue on. Right now I'm going to focus on Northern Science, which is a 2-year diploma program. Wide array of courses that you can take, everything from physics to chemistry to biology, lots of field school opportunities again, small class sizes, which is a huge plus for being up here. And the environment that we have is amazing if you're interested in getting into the sciences. So again, transferable courses, well worth looking into. Check out the programs at YukonU.ca/science. Elise, do you want to talk a little bit about being in that program, as you're one of our lovely students who started there and then transferred over to the 4-year degree?
Sure. So there's 2 diploma programs, and we're going to talk about the second one later, the Renewable Resource Program. But the Northern Science is a 2-year diploma that you can use to either graduate with a diploma or then get into the 4-year degree program. For me, the Northern Science diploma made more sense because I was a little bit late in applying, and it was a bit less competitive than the Renewable Resource Program. As well, I had already a lot of transfer credits, so I could sort of do the diploma faster if I went through the Northern Science stream. At the same time, the Northern Science diploma still gave me a lot of the basic biology courses, ecology courses, and allowed me to choose a lot of electives. So I felt like it prepared me really well for the degree, and also offered me a lot of cool field experiences, some of which were with Steve that were awesome. And essentially some of the things I really liked about the diploma is just that if something happens throughout your degree and you need to take a break, you still have a diploma. So it's not just working for a 4-year degree, and if something happens at year 3, 3 years of a degree doesn't count towards anything, but you can have a diploma in hand if you need to work. It's also more affordable. Instead of paying 4 years of university fees, I paid 2 years of college fees and then 2 years of university fees. So that was more affordable than doing a 4-year degree somewhere else. And yeah, small class sizes. I've been with the same cohort for 4 years, and we're pretty close, and we do a lot of work together, which is awesome. And yeah, lots of cool field schools, lots of good courses. For me, it was really awesome. I tried to do chemistry elsewhere when I was still living in Quebec. I tried to do a chemistry course there, and there was 250 students, an instructor that talked really quietly. I didn't really understand. And I dropped the course. It was like 3-hour lecture on a Wednesday night or something. Like I dropped the course after 1 attendance. And then here, even though I walked into the chemistry course feeling really stressed, we were a class of 16. We all worked together. The instructor answered all our questions. And if you were on top of the work, then it was really easy to do well. So I'm really happy I did the science. The first year science courses here, that was really helpful for me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Elise. Okay. So Elise led us into this next program actually with renewable resource management, another one of the options that you can use to go into the 4-year degree program. The renewable resource management program is really cool in that it has much more of a focus on biology and sustainability. As we all know, things are changing in our world rapidly, our climates are changing, things like that. So this is a really neat program if you're somebody who's passionate in getting out into the world and figuring out how to keep us sustainable and doing research and things like that. So lots of opportunity with all of our science programs to get involved with the research center and getting out into the field, learning lots of different things. And particularly, some of the benefits of taking some of the science courses is that you get some of these non-credit training as well. So things like winter travel and survival, your wilderness first aid, firearm safety, all great courses to have in your arsenal when you're applying on jobs and things like that. Again, transferable, lots of opportunities, small class sizes. Sciences are just, they're fantastic up here, and we have beautiful facilities for taking those science courses. So again, check out yukonu.ca/science for more information on that program. Next up, I'm going to touch on the 4-year degree program that we offer here at the university. So this is a partnership program, which is really cool. So you do your first 2 years as a YukonU student in one of those other programs that I've been talking about. And then you transfer directly into years 3 and 4 at the University of Alberta, but you're still a YukonU student and you do all 4 years up here at Yukon University. There is opportunity if you want to do a semester down at U of A, but for the most part, we get U of A students coming up here to do this program because it's quite unique and offered up here only. So it is, again, it has transferability options. It integrates the natural and social sciences, lots of employment opportunities and research opportunities. Again, I'm going to say it one more time after this, but go to yukonu.ca/science. And Elise, I don't know if you have anything you want to add specifically about the degree program as you're graduating this year from it.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot to be said about the degree program, actually. I felt like after 2 years, I was like, I'm smart now, I could graduate. But I'm really glad that I did the 4-year program. Since then, I've gotten a lot more experience, and especially work experience to go towards a career. I think that's huge. I've worked for a lot of my instructors, including Scott, which has been really helpful for me to develop my skills. And being in the 4-year program, you get to do placements like step jobs that put you in the field. I've learned a lot, and I have a job I really like now that I'll be doing again this summer when I graduate, which is really awesome. And I think the 4-year program, or at least the second 2 years, really help you to think a lot about putting everything you've already learned in context. So in terms of how does it look like in research, or how does it look like in management? How does it fit into global issues, rather than the first 2 years are really like, okay, this is biology, this is chemistry, and so on. So I really liked doing the 4-year. I really didn't regret it. And I think it's really prepared me better for the workforce in terms of report writing, critical thinking, and just applying some of the stuff I learned in the first 2 years in a broader sort of, more applied context in the second 2 years. Really good.
Awesome. Thanks, Elise. All right, last program I'm going to talk about today, and then I'm going to hand it over to Scott and Stephen, who we're all here to listen to. That is our science program. So it is a 1-year science certificate program. It's a great introduction if you're thinking of going into the sciences, but not 100% sure which direction you want to go. Again, transferable courses if you want to do your first year of sciences up here, but know that the rest of the sciences you want to get into aren't offered up here, then it's a great way to get started up here. Again, very comparable, lower tuition costs for a lot of places, and just a great way to get out and start exploring what your interests might be in the sciences. So again, yukonu.ca/sciences, check it out. And if at any point you do have questions, I did put the contact information in the chat box, but at the end I will pull up this slide again, which has all the contact information for you if you have further follow-up questions or if you want a copy of the recording, anything like that. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Scott and Stephen, who is here to tell us all about field work and what it's like to be out there.
So Steve, shall I share my screen?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Yep, that sounds great, Scott.
Okay. Here. Okay, so Steve and I will jump back and forth here. So Steve, fire in when I get off track. So we both have a fair amount of experience with delivering field courses and teaching in the Renewable program. So we thought we'd go through some of the aspects of that might be of interest. We thought we'd touch on why field courses are important in the first place. So this would apply to the science courses as well. Specifically, we'll talk about the skills that are taught in the renewable field courses and the preparation that students might be interested in, and then general questions at the end. So as a few slides to start off with an overview to add to what Jen has described about the Renewable program. 2-year diploma, 22 courses, at least 3 of those are field courses. You could push it to 4. Non-credit certificates that Jen referred to, first aid, the boat safety, firearm safety. These give you a big leg up, in my experience, over students from the South that come from Southern universities that may not have the practical aspects. Our program, the Renewable program, has a generalist approach. It's not specialized, and that's in part because our audience of employers are looking for generalists as well. So the focus is on northern resources, so water, forest, fish, wildlife resources, and especially the context of how renewable resources are managed cooperatively up here with land claims. The land claims context provides a big difference to Southern Canada. The Renewable program started way back in '91, and the graduates have found employment in lots of different fields. It's not a guarantee by any means. Students often find it's easier to find seasonal jobs, summer jobs, and finding year-round work is more challenging. So why are field courses important? Basically, if you're into biology, you love working the field. So that's true of students and instructors. The instructors got going as students often by being having a mentor that took them out in the field, and that's what set the hook to their interest for field biology. The second point is that field courses provide that grounding between the theory that you hear about in lectures that students sometimes glaze over their eyes. So it's that grounding between theory and what is going on in the real world. So field courses provide a really important link between those two. Steve could talk more about this. Kinesthetic learners, each of us have different learning styles perhaps. And these learners, kinesthetic learners, really respond well to movement and physical, actually getting out there and doing it. Other learners benefit from it too, but we do get feedback from students that say, yeah, I really like getting the hands-on stuff, and I get frustrated or unhappy when I can't do that. So. Jen has mentioned many times our small class sizes, and that's definitely gives us a leg up over Southern institutions. Also, our proximity to wild spaces. If you're going to go to U of T, you're going to have to go a long way to find field opportunities, and we literally walk out our back door on campus. So that's a big advantage. The other benefit of the field course is one that we never anticipated. Students often get thrown together as a cohort in August when they take the first field course before classes even start in September. That coming together for 10 days in the field often forms a strong peer support group that lasts for the next 2 years, that shows benefits in sharing classwork and peer teaching, peer learning. So we never anticipated that, and it's a great advantage. On the other hand, students that choose for some reason or constrained because they can't take the first field course before they join a program, they often suffer, unfortunately. They don't do as well. They lack those connections. And lastly, I think before I turn over to Steve, many Yukon employers value field experience. So we'll see that coming up again and again. In an interview, they want to know what you've done. As a bridge to Steve's next section, these are the actual quotes taken from course evaluations. This was a field course offered in 2019. The question was, what did you find valuable in the course? And in their own words, for different perspectives, students really like the field work. So I think there's just a winning combination between taking people that are interested in biology, putting them outside in the Yukon wild spaces, and then giving a bit of context for skills or techniques. It works well. Now, Steve, do you want me to run this and you talk, or do you want to bring up your own?
Oh, sure. Let's just keep going. I'll give you a little point when it's time to change the screen.
Got it.
So I'm going to just introduce our 3 main field courses. So as Scott already mentioned, the Renewable Resources Management Program is very experiential, hands-on, and part of that is our field courses. So we have in the 2-year diploma 3 main field courses. We'll touch on a couple others as well. So those are those 3 field courses there, and I'll go through each one. So first, we've got the one that Scott mentioned, where everybody gathers together in that first year in August, just before the start of the regular semester. We've got a 10-day field course. And these days we're hosting that out of Kluane Lake Research Station, run by the Arctic Institute from the University of Calgary. There's an aerial image of that there, so it's a great place to be. And this course is really focusing on introductory field skills. So we're assuming that students come with very little experience. And so we're giving them their first taste of what it's like to be out in the field. And we go through several different disciplines. So we may be looking at hydrology, water. We may be looking at fish biology, catching fish. We may be looking at mapping. We definitely do mapping, forestry, all sorts of different things that we cover there. And as Scott mentioned, it's a real chance for everybody to get to know each other quite well. So that's a real bonus for developing peer relationships and support throughout the program. So after the first year of the program, right at the end of that, in the spring, we offer our second field course. So the first year is kind of bookended by these 2 field courses. There's another 10-day field course. This one's home-based, so students get to sleep at home if they live in Whitehorse. And we just do it as a day camp kind of thing. So we complete this right at the end of term, just after exams, so that students have time to get into summer employment. And in this course, again, it's focused on field skills. Here, it's more about the tools that we use, the way we take measurements, and how we process that data, creating Excel files and graphs and reports and that sort of thing. And we do a different discipline each day. So I tend to run this course as a tour through the different renewable resources field disciplines. So things like, again, hydrology, fish biology, wildlife management, forest management, each discipline basically that we would consider to be a renewable resource. We try to do an activity in that. And then at the end of the, or just before the end of the program, sorry, just before the end of the last year, the second year, we have our third field course. So they come in fairly quick succession. Basically, over the period of a year, we get 3 field courses in there. So just before second year, 10-day field camp. This one tends to be a road trip around the Yukon, which is great. So going out to visit some different areas and seeing some of the particular resource management issues in those regions. And this one, it says putting it into practice. So really what this course is more about is exploring the current management issues, some of the possibly controversial or not topics out there on the land, and then focusing the field skills that we've picked up in the other 2 courses, as well as through lectures and applying them to those issues and doing some problem solving with that. And then we have, as mentioned already, a few non-credit field courses as well. So these have been mentioned. So that's your boat operator training, firearm safety, first aid, sometimes ATV, snow machine operation, that kind of thing. Really a great advantage. I decided to highlight this one, winter travel and survival. So this is one of those courses that are required for graduation, and really great opportunity to get out in the winter. So it's our only winter-based field course. Although the spring one is often quite wintry. I think this, if it were this year, it would be very wintry. So this is an opportunity for students to really get some firsthand experience and practice in being out on the land in winter and being safe.
Okay, I'll carry on from Steve. A little bit about expectations. We often have a flurry of emails as the start date for the field courses approaches over expectations from students. So this is mostly to lay out some of the common questions about things like logistics. So our first course is NOS 215 that will be starting this August on the 26th of August, I think. We stay at a research station, so all you need to do is bring a sleeping bag. The meals are provided. There's a choice of menus for people that have allergies. It's the course that runs in the spring, Renewable 125, is it's campus based, so students are able to stay at home. It's a hard time of year. April is between seasons, so the option, campgrounds aren't open. The option to camp out isn't really there, and we can find lots to do in the driving distance of Whitehorse to make it for an interesting field course. The last one is Steve alluded to. It tends to be a driving tour. So in this case, students have to do their own cooking. So it's interesting to compare the standards for meals from the first year to the second year. We see some of our students that are deliberating, do I heat the can of beans or just eat it cold? So you bring your own food, often setting up little groups to cook together, camping every night in the campground as we move around the Yukon. The background of students is quite diverse, and there's lots of peer learning that goes on. So we often have to reassure students that say they don't have much outdoor experience about what the expectations are. There will be people that have background as working as a trapper, as working in different industries as technicians that have field experience. But basically everyone's there to learn new techniques related to the science and share their experience about the best ways to be comfortable working the bush. So whatever your background in outdoor experience is, you're most welcome, and you'll eventually thrive. In this case, this is one of the exercises I used in field course years ago. We had a aluminum frame tent, and I purposely would leave out the instructions. So it made for a good way for students to get to know each other on the first afternoon as they tried to get this apparatus up. We're not running outward bound courses. It's not you're not expected to be a wilderness guide. The basics are that you have to be able to hike about 5K a day on rough trails, carrying a personal day pack that had things like bug dope in it. Know how to be able to work with chest waders in waterways. You have to have enough eyesight to use a compass and binoculars, so for doing bird transects. You have to be able to help out with camp chores like hauling firewood or water, cleaning vans. So the entry level is pretty basic. So we're not expecting you to come in as an experienced outdoors person. So yeah, binoculars figure pretty prominently in field biology so you can see what you're looking at. We supply the technical equipment. You just have to provide you dress for the weather. So I'm constantly surprised that students, we've had cases where a student showed up with cowboy boots, that these were his rain gear. So you need good rain gear to be comfortable. You need rubber boots. We do get, in August, certainly we get snow that can stick to the ground for a day or so. So you have to be dressed for the weather. Our field days are full. Students sometimes, if they had one complaint, it was that they wish there were more hours in the day to fit in the field work as well as the paperwork in the evenings, writing journals, doing assignments. The key point is you're not going to be bored. So, and even some days you can grab a nap after lunch. This must have been one of Steve's lectures, maybe? No, I can't be sure. Can't be sure. So we try and pack lots of activities. Some of them are to reinforce skills. Some of them are just things that you can't teach in the lab or lecture, so you have to practice them in the field. So the bottom line is that all of these field techniques and skills are ones that employers are sensitive to and sometimes looking for. So if it shows up in a job interview, the student benefits. So Steve?
Yeah, so one of the things that students have told us and employers is that's great about the Renewable Resources Program and our field courses in particular is that these are really relevant skills and that we're providing hands-on firsthand experience, which in many degree programs, actually students don't get. So we've even had students with degrees come to do the diploma. So Elise mentioned you could do the diploma and move into the degree, but we've even had people come and do the degree or do a degree and come back to get these firsthand, real hands-on experiences working in the field. So we're using the real equipment, doing the real job out there in the field. The other thing that we offer through all of our field courses is a connection to professionals that work in the field here in the Yukon. And of course, employers. So we often have guests from Yukon government. We have guests for work in partnership with local Yukon First Nations. We often have other instructors who are professionals, generally working in their field. So that's a real advantage. Yeah, and so, this is somewhat unique to the Yukon that we are in such close proximity to all of these agencies and employers, and that it's a small community as well. So we, as instructors, we know many of these people and they all know each other. And so we have this fairly tight community here, and it's easy for us to integrate students into that community, making connections, linking students up to projects that are actually happening out there right now on the land. And through this, students get a great advantage in getting to know who the employers are and what the jobs entail, what skills are required, forming that network, knowing, by face, several of the key players in town. So it's a real advantage in terms of employment.
So how should we go with this, Steve? I could share that Congdon example and we could just.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay. I'll share another screen here. We had an opportunity in 2011, 2012. We worked with Parks Canada in 20 National Park, helped them remove a natural berry attractant, soapberries, from one of their campgrounds at Kathleen Lake. 2013, we started working with Yukon Parks. So I think this is one example of the connections that we try and establish with local community for practical work. And these partnerships have proven quite useful for experience for students, as well as I think the partners have benefited from some of our industry. So Condon Creek Campground, a very popular Yukon campground on the Alaska Highway that's had recurring problems with grizzly bear conflicts since the 1980s. It was first established in the 1970s. So the students and I joined with Yukon Parks in trying to find ways to reduce conflicts between grizzly bears and humans. So some of the skills we ended up using, we had students involved in setting up camera traps, so they learned how to use camera traps. We had students, these red circles represent areas where we went through and using student labor, removed a lot of the natural attractants, these soapberry bushes. The red lines represent areas that students had used GPSs to mark the perimeter and then map later. So they're using their mapping skills that Steve would teach them with GPS use. The right-hand picture here is a 30-meter tape running through the bush where we're learning a technique to do line interstep transects to get the density of soapberry bushes, this natural attractant. So it seemed everywhere we turned in this project, students were acquiring new skills and new information. We got the results showed us that grizzly bears were present in the area around the campground, but it turns out in the many years since we've done this, set up this experiment, the bears don't spend the same amount of time in the actual campground where the campsites are located. We removed the natural attractant, and this black and white picture is taken in the middle of the night, and it's a bear that's feeding on soapberries that are on the bush. So this is an area about 3/4 of a kilometer from the actual campground. So students helped. Elise was one of the ones that shared her industry and expertise in classifying 60,000 photos. So there's a lot of lab work behind running these simple camera traps.
60,000. You're I think it's a low end. Is it? Oh, this is just for the Congdon one.
Yeah, well, no, I thought it was 60,000 last winter. No?
I think it was like 110 or something.
Ah, okay.
So pretty close, just half.
Yes. Half. The numbers are staggering. So we have in the background here one of our renewable students that now works for hydrology branch at Yukon government, toiling away using a Pulaski, a wildland firefighting tool, to dig up by the roots soapberries, female soapberry bushes that could have berries on them during the summer to remove that attractant, so we won't have bears around. This is a new outhouse, as you'd recognize from visiting a campground, where the corner of the building had been chewed by a bear that was marking its territory. So bears move through the campground after it's closed in the fall, and we try and keep them out by removing the natural attractants. So the students also learned it was an opportunity to learn about species identification, to identify different kinds of plants that we were looking at. And several of the students in the 5 or 6 years since we started that work have developed independent research projects. So these are a project where a student tackles a research question that they collect the data, write up the data, and present it as a final report as part of their second year, a course in their second year of their final course. And several of the students have worked with Yukon Parks on research projects that were of use. So that's it, Steve, unless you have something to add in about things I've missed.
No, I think that's good. I think we
Okay.
covered basically what the Renewable Resources Program field courses offer, what you can expect in them. So we'll leave it there and open it up to any questions.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Scott and Stephen. If you do have any questions, now would be the time to ask. You can do so via the chat, or if you unmute yourself, you can ask the question. I am going to put up a short poll here. If you wouldn't mind answering these two questions, it just helps us with understanding where people are at and how they heard about this event today. So I'll just give a second to answer that, and then we can get to questions.
Just so you know, Jen, I'm not going to vote even though you put me as one of the voters.
I have everybody in there, so that's great. I've got
Okay.
the responses here, so we're good. Thank you, everyone. So do we have any questions for Stephen, Scott, or myself, or Elise? No? Okay, well, again, I'm just going to put up the contact information. If you do have follow-up questions, please do feel free to follow up with us. And if it's something that is specific to Scott or Stephen, I can definitely pass that along to them. And thank you for attending today.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to dip. So see you guys on campus, hopefully, including the new students. Okay, bye.
Excellent. Glad it was helpful. All right, I'm going to end this meeting now and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Jen.